Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark with the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1953 James Stewart Western, The Naked Spur.
There must be something wrong with him.
Hey, that's not fair. I feel perfectly fine. The Naked Spur has a 100% fresh rating from the critics on Rotten Tomatoes and a 76% fresh rating from the audience. I am currently reviewing every movie that has a 100% fresh rating from the critics. This movie stars James Stewart as Howard, Janet Leigh as Lena, whom I know best from the movie Psycho, Robert Ryan as Ben, Millard Mithcell as Jesse, whom I know best from Singing in the Rain, and Ryan Meeker as Roy. Now, this movie is unlike any other Western I have ever seen in that there are no sheriffs, there are no marshals, there's no law enforcement of any kind in this movie. It's just a bunch of regular men who are after a guy named Ben. Now, James Stewart plays a guy who originally takes this bounty on Ben. Ben is accused of murder in another state, and James Stewart kind of has him right where he wants him, on top of this hill, on top of this rock, where he has nowhere to run. Accompanying him and helping him that he met along the way is Jesse and Roy. Now, they both agreed to do this because James Stewart offered them like $50 each or something like that if they would help him catch this guy and bring him to justice. So, like I said, James Stewart has him right where he wants him, and he's trying to, he has Jesse create a distraction so he can climb up this hill and take Ben by surprise, but he's not able to climb up this hill. He doesn't have the physical ability to do it, so he has Roy do it, who is much younger and seems much more physically fit. So Roy gets up to the mountain and he captures Ben, and the other follow in tow, and when they get up to the top, Ben is all like, well, you guys must be really happy that you're going to get all this money for capturing me. Now, Howard neglected to tell Jesse and Roy that there was a bounty on Ben's head. They just thought that he was paying him out of his own pocket, basically, to help him do this. But apparently there's a $5,000 bounty, and when they find this out, they insist on sharing the bounty 3 ways equally. Now, Howard very reluctantly accepts this offer. He doesn't want to do this. He wants the money to be only his, but he realizes that he is not going to be able to take this gentleman in himself, especially since that Ben is accompanied by Lena. Now, Lena is played by Janet Leigh, of course, and she is someone who her parents had passed away, and Ben was really good friends with both of them, so he is kind of like the only person that she trusts and the only person that she has in her life. So she's accompanying him along the way. So now they have 2 people that they have to take back to town, and Howard is not going to be able to do this by himself. So along the way, Ben tries to cause a rift between the 2 of them by suggesting that they should get rid of one another because the money splits better 2 ways than it does 3. And then, of course, if it splits better 2 ways, it'll split better 1 way than it will 2. So he's constantly trying to cause a rift between the 3 of them, which is a smart thing to do.
Plain arithmetic. Money splits better 2 ways instead of 3.
He's trying to have them turn against each other. One day they realize that there is a group of Native Americans following them, and Roy lets the cat out of the bag that they are chasing him because of, it seems like he forced an Indian woman to date him or be with him in ways that she didn't want to, and now these Native Americans are after Roy. So Roy ends up tricking everyone, and he ends up getting he's supposed to leave and go off on his own so that he doesn't drag Jesse and Howard into this predicament, but he ends up tricking all of them and dragging them into the situation. So they have like a gunfight with the Native Americans, and Howard ends up getting injured. He ends up, I think, getting shot in like the stomach or the leg, somewhere like that. And so now the rest of the trip, he's going to be injured traveling with them, so now he's a bit of a liability as they're going forward. So they go forward, and we still have the situation where Ben is trying to get out of the predicament that he's in, whether it be trying to get rid of Howard by like cutting some things on his saddle so he falls down this ravine, or trying to get them to turn on each other. He's constantly trying to get out of the situation, while at the same time, Lena seems to be having some emotions for Howard. She feels sorry for Howard and the situation that Howard is in. Now, Howard is doing this because he went to the war, and before he went to war, he was in a relationship where he was going to get married. He was engaged to a woman, and he decided to sign his land over to this woman so that he wouldn't lose it while he was in the war, so that someone would own it, so they couldn't force her off of it while he was there. And then when he gets back, he assumes he's going to, take the land back. They're going to get married. They're going to have a family. But when he gets back, he learns that she has left him for another man, and she has sold the land, and now he has nothing. So he needs this money so that he can buy the land back and try to get his life back the way it was. When he gets shot, he has this like fever dream where he thinks that Lena is his former fiance, and he says like, "Don't worry, I'm gonna get the land back." And it's this very amazing scene of acting by James Stewart. Where you really feel like this is a conflicted man. You really feel like throughout the whole movie, you didn't really feel like there was any humanizing things about him. Like he just seemed like a man who was hell-bent on getting this money, and he didn't care what happened to people around him. He didn't care if everyone else got injured or killed or hurt. His goal was to get this man to the town so he can get his money, and that's all he cared about. But now you see like a more human side of his character, and you really start to feel for him a little bit, and you kind of want him to be able to. I never thought that his plan was going to work, that even if he got this guy back to town and he got the money, I never really thought that he would be able to like buy his land back. I didn't think it was a situation in which it was going to actually work, but he thinks it's going to work, so that's all that matters. That's like his goal, that's like his ambition, is to get this money to get his land back. So, a lot of the same stuff happens where Ben's trying to get away. He's trying to do whatever he can to get away from these people, and Howard is doing the best he can to keep everyone together and not let everyone like mutiny and be against each other. And then by the end of the movie, certain circumstances happen where Ben is able to convince Jesse that if Jesse lets him go, that he has a gold mine that he will allow Jesse to have, and it'll be in exchange for like his life. Like, if you get me out of here, I'll give you the coordinates to my gold mine, and you can be a rich man, and we can both like go off into the sunset and be free. Now Jesse falls for this. He lets his greed get the best of him. He shouldn't have believed Ben, because Ben has not been a believable person throughout this whole movie, but he kind of lets his greed get the best of him, and he believes Ben. Ben ends up double-crossing him and ends up killing him. And then he uses he uses Jesse as bait to bring Howard and Roy into the situation. And then this is spoilers. I already said that Jesse died, but this is more spoilers. By the end of the movie, we have Jesse has died. Roy will eventually die as well, and then Ben will also die. Now, the circumstances of the bounty said that you can bring him back dead or alive. So James Stewart, at the end of this movie, still has the idea that he's going to bring Ben's body back, and he's going to get the money that way. Now, Lena claims that she'll marry Howard. She'll do whatever she wants to. Please don't take his body back. Please just let him be. Let him bury him. Just let him, just don't take him back. Let him be. James Stewart ends up accepting this, and he buries him, and that's basically the end of the movie. I really like this movie, to be perfectly honest. I love the fact that we're not dealing with sheriffs and marshals. There is a fight with the Native American tribe later, but I really like how it's different in the fact that there's not this one great hired gun who's faster than everyone else, and that type of situation where it's just kind of like an everyday guy who is not known, as far as we know, he's not known to be quick with a draw or anything, and he's just trying to get this criminal back to town so that he can collect the money. James Stewart, it seems like later in his life he's trying to take on roles where he's not like the oh shucks, gosh darn golly type personality that he is, where he's like the hero, he's the moral compass of every movie that he's in. He is like the voice of reason in like every movie he's in. He's the triumphant, he gives a speech triumphantly and everyone rallies around him type of person. He's trying to show that he can do other roles, and I think he does a fantastic job of being a conflicted, kind of disturbed, kind of doesn't, he has different things going on. He's wrestling with different things in his brain of actually like bringing this guy in, knowing that they're going to hang him, knowing that they're going to kill him. He's wrestling with the idea of this guy dying and it being his fault because he brings him in. Also, though, he has to think about the money that he's trying to get to save his land. So is saving his land more important than sparing this guy's life? And it's just conflict that he has throughout the entire movie, and I think he does a fantastic job of it. The entire cast in this movie, there's very few westerns. Well, I will say that the entire cast in the movie is fantastic. There's usually one character, like the boy in Shane, who I thought was really bad, the girl in the shooting, who was absolutely terrible. There's usually one or two characters that I can nitpick and say that these characters brought the movie down and they were absolutely terrible. But this movie is just a masterclass of acting. They have such fantastic cast in this movie. I mean, you have Janet Leigh, you have Millard Mithcell, you have Ralph Meeker, which I've never heard of him before, but he does a fantastic job in this movie. And they all do. They're all phenomenal. They're fantastic actors. They bring you believe the characters that they are. They bring everything they can to the screen. I thought they were perfect. The cinematography in this movie is also fantastic. It's very few. It's not that often that I see a western in color, at least from like these time periods. I mean, this is I guess starting where color started to come in. Like I think The Searchers was in the 1950s also, but the cinematography is absolutely fantastic. It's breathtaking. I thought this movie was quite good. And I would recommend it to anyone. Now, I do think that Winchester 73 that James Stewart was in is probably a little bit better, but they're pretty close to each other. He's just so good as like almost like a villainous character in this movie, where the villain is supposed to be the guy who did the murder, but the person who is acting just as villainous in his motives is James Stewart. So you almost have like two villains who are working against each other for different goals. And I love that dichotomy. I love what they're doing with that. Anyway, I thought this movie was quite good. James Stewart still remains my favorite actor of all time. I really don't think he can do any wrong. Now, I've seen a lot of movies with him. My least favorite movie with him is actually the movie he won Best Actor for, and that's the Philadelphia Story. But I really think that he can do no wrong, aside from maybe the Philadelphia Story, which I don't enjoy. But I give this movie an 8.5 out of 10. I thought it was quite good. I hope you join me for my next review, which is going to be the first ever full-length animated movie in history, and is called The Adventures of Prince Ahmed. Thank you. I hope you have a great day.